My husband who's 47 didn't reply to text because I didn't end it with a X. That means a kiss.
What's that all about?
Throughout the day my husband sent me a text message, signing it off with a X, kiss. I replied but didn't sign it off with a kiss. I figured there would be more texts, but I didn't sign off with a X. This is common throughout our 6-year relationship. Not all the time are all of our texts signed off with a kiss. Last night at home he said, "Do you know why I didn't reply to your text? You didn't sign it off with a kiss." I felt like I was being told off. At 45 years old I was baffled. Is this just manipulation or something?
No, actually, that is called emotional intelligence. So instead of him crying and whining and bitching at you, why don't you ever send the text message back with the kiss? We always do it. It's been 6 years. Why'd you change out on me? Instead of all of that stuff, he came and sat you down. Well, first of all, he showed you better than he could tell you that it bothers him so much that he stopped responding. He came home, he sat you down, he didn't ignore you for the rest of life. He just sat you down and he notified you that, look, this is something that we've always done, and it bothers me that you have stopped doing it. Now, you have the proactive and conscious understanding because, first and foremost, y'all been together for 6 whole years. Y'all have crossed two hurdles of divorce already, and your third hurdle for divorce is coming. Over the last 6 years, if you think about it, more often than not, y'all did not send that kiss signature in your text messages when y'all was fussing and cussing at one another about things y'all didn't agree on. So when things were good, that little X at the end of the message let the other person know everything's good. And when things weren't good, y'all didn't have the time, motivation, or energy to throw that X in the bottom of the message. Now, that changes the whole perception of every text message that you send your partner. The difference between grab the trash on your way in with an X at the bottom of it versus grab your trash on the way in without the X at the bottom of it is the difference between um, give me a kiss and say grab the trash when you got time versus get your ass off and get the fucking trash. Because you got to understand, text messages are perceived in the most negative light from the receiver of the message. So any type, and that's one of the reasons why society has fell on emojis so heavily because the smiley face. Look, even in the comment right now, what Michael just wrote might have pissed somebody off until he put the little emoji with the halo over the head, emphasizing innocence. Specifically, you have to understand that emojis adds a little bit of color, a little bit of flavor, a little bit of context to every single comment, right? And as a result, if you don't put that in there, some of the words that you put in there, the way you structured it, might not be intended for offense, but might be taken offensively. Before we had emojis, we used to throw LOL into everything that we did so that people would assume that we were laughing on the other side of the phone when we were making these criticized comments so that the person receiving the message would not take offense to what we said. So something as simple as not putting that I love you kiss X at the bottom of the message could change the comment from being something positive to being something negative. So if the man explained to you exactly how he felt, and that led him to not respond, especially if his response would have been negative, taken out of context, and then it would have started an argument in a situation that did not deserve an argument. The fact is, he told you what his problem was. Now, if you're a good wife and you respect your man, you will make it a point to always send the X at least 90% of the time. And if in the event you forget to send the X and he stops responding to you and you recognize the last message you sent him didn't have an X, you will immediately jump into the text messages and say, hey, I forgot. Here's the kiss. I'm going to send three because I didn't send you one in the last message to make up for And it's an innocent thing that prevents the development of unnecessary resentment in a relationship. Michael said, now I have the giggles. Didn't know it was going to be Holly Quinn romance night. Oh man, it's gonna be worse. It's gonna be worse. This is this is gonna be some Whoopi Goldberg from Star Trek. Some of these I did not, because of the people, the comments from today, the individuals had very good grammar. So I did not go through all of these messages. But the ones that I did skim because of typos, I was like, sheesh, reckless.
I think my husband, who is 31, hates me. I think he honestly hates and disrespects me. What happened? I'm 30 and exhausted writing this. I don't even know what to do anymore. My husband is a nightmare. He's incredibly sweet, affectionate, and funny when he's in a good mood. The issue being he's in a good mood about 40% of the time. As in, he'll be amazing Monday through Wednesday, but Wednesday night, Thursday he'll start being honestly awful. It could be caused by a random mood, a setback that seems so small to me, a $10 processing fee on a concert ticket, me not agreeing with something he says, me not understanding what he just said, etc. I mean, really, if this mood, I don't know what else to cause it, is coming on, anything will become the catalyst. He's been begging and demanding to buy a new car, but we just paid off his car and mine is almost there. We just moved to a new and expensive city and we don't know what our student loan payments will look like. We agreed we wouldn't buy new cars until we had some time to evaluate our financial situation. Well, he later decided he doesn't agree with that. This happens a lot. We agree to something and we're good until he decides he doesn't agree and then starts having a temper tantrum. And he brings it up daily, whines, begs and threatens to go buy one. As in, scoffs and goes, I'm just going to buy one and not tell you, ha ha ha. He's starting fights with me incessantly, which is what he does when he's mad. He retaliates by doing things like ignoring me, gaslighting me, and putting me down. When he drinks in these moods, he becomes evil. Actually evil. We could be having a perfectly good time and out of nowhere, he'll say something insanely fucking mean and then just go in from there even if I don't react. I mean like him suddenly going, I'm just not into you, or, I just hate you, out of nowhere. I don't react, but he'll just straight up have an argument with me by himself. I'll say, I love you and I don't want to fight, and he'll say, I don't care. I hate you. I'm not attracted to you. And then he'll give me the silent treatment for days and then start to chill out and either start being nice all of a sudden or actually apologize. He recently started saying weirdly misogynistic things when he's screaming at me. He started calling me really demeaning names and even saying I have an alpha or dominant personality and I'm trying to control him. He has all the control because he literally bullies me. He told me the other day in a fit of rage that he hates me, he's done with me, and he only has sex with me because he wants to have sex. He's been cold and mean since. No affection, awkward, and lots of put-downs and gaslighting. He won't answer something I said. I'll ask if he heard me and he'll say he already answered. I'll say no, that didn't happen, and he'll say, I promise you it did, you just weren't listening. But I was literally looking in his mouth. I know he didn't say anything. He didn't always hate me like this. He didn't always disrespect me like this. We went through a hard time financially for a few years and I paid all our expenses, and it honestly feels like that turned him into someone else. Before that, he had rages, but they were never this bad, and he would always try to fix things with me. During that financial time, things just went off the rails. Can we get back to a safe place? We've been together for a long time and I just miss him. I used to love coming home with him, and now when we go out with people I'm scared and sad to go home alone with him because I know he's going to be insanely mean and then go play video games or sulk and refuse to talk to me.
Well, damn. I got a lot of things to say about that. All right, so let's step back a little bit. Um, he, ladies, y'all got me today. He being childish. He is being childish. Um, Nobody should treat their partner that way. And recognizing that level of abuse, you should be able to appropriately communicate your dissatisfaction with how you're being treated And if your partner doesn't change, then you need to reconsider removing yourself from the relationship. So I have covered from the perspective of the women. I know that is short, but there isn't a lot to go on with that because if you are not happy with his behavior, you have recognized a pattern of behavior, and you mention this pattern of behavior to him and he does not improve, then it is your responsibility to protect yourself and your own best interest and remove yourself from the relationship. Now, from the perspective of men, a lot longer. First, Michael asked, does she have a job? Apparently, she does because she was paying for the bills in the beginning of the relationship. However, the lady says that they agreed on stuff. And then after they agreed on stuff, he would go against the agreement. There are some relationships before the development of this podcast where when people agree, the man agrees with the woman so that they stop fighting. Not because that's what he wants to do, not because he agrees with it, but because he does not want to be put down or devalued or whatever the case may be, shunned or shamed for what's going on. So, did he decide that we're not going to do it, or did you decide that we're not going to do it and he just yes deared you? Because a lot of times women believe that when a woman decides something, that everybody around that woman agrees to it. And that's not the case. It is not a group thing scenario. He might not agree, but he might go along with it. Now, the next thing I want to do, I'm going to skip the car thing and go back to the car thing. Y'all bought a more expensive standard of living. Not a smart move. You should have got the better standard of living after you paid off all the cars. If if you had to move, then you move. And if it just so happened that where you moved that was convenient for both of y'all's jobs turned out to be more expensive, then you have the more expensive lifestyle. But just moving to a more expensive lifestyle for the sake of moving to a more expensive lifestyle, that was irresponsible. Y'all could have stayed in the cheaper lifestyle where if in the event that there are extra things going on with his car that he's not telling you about, that's the reason why he wants to upgrade his car. If he had a car payment and he needs another car, if the car payment for the new car and the car insurance for the new car is the same value as the car payment for the old car and reasonably close to the car insurance of the old car, let him get another car. He's still going to have a monthly payment. If he's paying $300 a month for the old car and he trade up because he's got a lot of equity in his old car, if he just paid off his old car, he could trade his old car in for full monetary equity value towards a new car where he might only have $150 payments on the new car, depending on the value of his old car. You're almost done paying off your car. So your car will still be paid off and he will have payments. And that's the way life goes. Every time y'all get another vehicle, unless y'all go and buy something out the auction or go buy something from a used car dealership and pay cash up front, you're always going to have payments. You might tell him instead of buying another car, since he paid his car off, he could park his car and lease a car so that he has a car to drive around with, or you can encourage him to rent another car when he wants to do something that requires a better quality car. But compromise, which is what Michael was just saying, communication, a very hard thing to learn. It will take time, but you'll survive. It will if she's communicating. The man's temper tantrums, as it pertains to the car, he said that canoe better be clean. A man's uh, temper tantrums, as she calls it, because he wants to do something that he might have rationalized it to be in the budget, and she's refusing to allow him to do it, will cause him to lash out negatively and have inappropriate responses because he's not showing the emotional maturity of the previous man that was on the show today. The fact is that if you guys aren't going to work this out, his behavior is not going to change, because the one thing that you're making clear is that he forever wants a new car or newer car than the one that he has. Okay. So if that's the only complaint that he has, give it to him. Now, moving on to the other part of this situation where you were claiming that he was being misogynistic because he was saying that you were being alpha controlling. That's not misogynistic. If you devalue his masculinity, put him in his place, refuse to compromise, and you hold levels of expectations for him that he disagrees with, under the interpretation that if he doesn't contest it in a conflict avoidant behavior, that he's agreeing with you, then that's not misogynistic. He doesn't agree with you, but he doesn't want to fight with you either. Now, um, Michael says, why not have three cars and no payments? That would make sense. But his car's already paid off. So if he can't afford to buy a third car cash up front, he's going to be making payments. Now, I do agree with the wife. If your car is paid off, my car is almost paid off, you and I should be putting our money together to pay off my car. And then with zero car payments, we can reevaluate the budget to see if we can afford to get you another car in the current heightened standard of living that we just put ourselves into. Because if we decide to move into a bigger place, we've got more space. We might have went from a one-bedroom apartment to a two-bedroom house. We might have gone from a two-bedroom apartment to a three-bedroom house. We might have gone from the hood to the suburbs where the rent went from $1,100 a month to $1,800 a month, and we got an HOA to pay for on top of that. So I do agree with the wife that we need to reassess our new standard of living before we go and get you another car. Make sure that we can afford all of this stuff, because you're not getting a raise, I'm not getting a raise, and we're moving into a more expensive standard of living. And if we were barely covering everything before we moved, we don't want to have 2 or 3 sick days from you, maternity leave from me, that would lead to one of us not bringing in enough money to cover the new expenses. Because if you're living at 90% or 95% of your standard of living and you have a 30% dip because somebody stopped working for a few weeks, you now have more bills than you have money. And because you were living from paycheck to paycheck, you don't have a way to bounce back from that. If you have what they call a slow season, where your paycheck is 25% of your normal paycheck, or if you guys lived off of overtime and both jobs stop allowing overtime for a month or 2 or 6 weeks, your paycheck is dramatically hit and your standard of living is dramatically compromised. So you have to be able to cover your standard of living off of your regular hours. And if you're working on a job that's cutting hours because it's not the holiday season, where you're not getting the full time or the overtime that you was once getting, you've got to recognize that you still got to pay your bills. So I do agree with the wife on that part. Michael said, well, he's 30 though, Michael. That's what she said. She said he was like 30, so he ain't really all that young. But men don't start growing up till they 35, so she got a few more years to go. Michael said, young people who get married should always live like poor people. Stage one of life is creating wealth and then investing for the future, which I completely agree. Then create cash reserves of at least 6 months. And then after you create that cash reserve of at least 6 months, then you're supposed to start putting up capital gains in stocks, bonds, and real estate so that you have a lot more capital to go around, so that in the future, one of the things that the rich people tell people as financial advice is to only make purchases when those purchases are 30% or less of the total quantity of income that you have coming in. So if you want to buy a car, your income is say 60,000 a year. You're buying a car that is less than 30% of that, which is a $20,000 car. But you should be aiming for the 30% debt to income. And if you're aiming for a 30% debt to income, the 30% debt to income would require you to say, if you're making 60,000 a year, then your standard living should be inside of 20,000 a year. And if that's the case, you've got 40,000 a year of discretionary spending. And if you do have 40,000 a year of discretionary spending and you're only spending 30% of that on making a major purchase, then out of that 40,000 a year, you're probably going to buy one $15,000 car cash up front, not finance. Now that changes the dynamic of things because if you're living at 90% of your income, where you're making 60,000 a year and your standard of living is about 45,000 a year, you have $15,000 of discretionary spending, which means if you're spending one third of that, you've only got enough money to buy a $3,000 car out the auction because you don't make that much money. Now, thinking off of that, the wife was right. Don't go waste money on financing a brand new car. Michael then followed that up with creating assets, which gives you toys. Yes, that's right. Now, if you were following the plan that Michael just put you guys in the comment section, and you built up your emergency funds, you built up your assets, you could leverage your assets as collateral towards a cash loan that would pay for your new car. And if you had stocks that were paying cash dividends and the stocks were paying enough cash dividends to cover the cost of the loan, you got a free car. And if you're doing all of this stuff under your LLC or your C corporation, you get tax deductions off of your LLC or your C corporation where the car offsets profits that was made between your W-2, your wife's W-2, and any profits that came off of your stock option. Which means that you really got a free car because the money you would have gave Uncle Sam, the money you would have sent to the Trump administration for profits made this year would have been offset by the company car that you just bought. That's when you're spending wisely. Now, if they would have negotiated this as a family, as a business minded family, they probably would have had a better outcome with their discussion, with their relationship, and that it probably would not be as catastrophic. Now, when she says I love you, he says I hate you, and I think you're ugly, and we shouldn't be together, and this is the levels of abuse where again you do not have to get beat up by your partner to recognize that you're in a toxic and abusive environment. If he's always devaluing and degrading you and shaming you, then uh, you should break up. However, recognizing that if 3 days out of the week he's not behaving like this, and 4 days out of the week he is behaving like this, you've got to ask yourself what changes. Don't just blame him. Think about what you have done, what you have contributed to the change. Like she said earlier, the $10 purchase for the concert, the $10 fee for the concert ticket. Did you go and get the concert ticket without talking to him about it? And there was an increased fee that nobody knew about. Now there's even more money being spent than what he agreed upon, which would imply that you are able to freely make purchases without criticism, and he is not, which would make him have a level of resentment harbored that would allow him to lash out at you because you won't let him buy a car, but you can go and buy a VIP concert tickets. That would show an imbalance in the relationship. Um, a lot of women believe that they're listening when they're paying attention, not paying attention, but facing the man. A lot of times, if you didn't hear what he said, you toned him out, so you wasn't listening. And that actually means that he's saying things that you're not registering. And if he has to repeat himself, you wasn't focused on him. And truth, I'm not going to lie, as a man, I tone out everybody when they're talking to me, unless they're talking to me about something relevant. And I dictate what is relevant. And that's not because I don't value people. It is a natural instinct. So if what you're saying to me is important, if I tone you out and I recognize that, when you stop talking, I'm going to stop you before I say anything else and say, I'm sorry, I missed some of that. Can you say that again? Start from wherever I stop listening, say that again. So I'm clearly admitting I stopped listening. I didn't hear it. I was facing you, but I toned out. Say whatever it was that you just said so that I can make sure that I heard that correctly. Then I can respond accordingly. If women did that, you know, Yeah, it'll rub guys the wrong way. But shit, if I gotta say it a second time so that she heard what I said and she's gonna take action on what I said, I would prefer that than for you to pretend like you was listening when you wasn't listening. Then the next time we have this conversation, I'm gonna say we talked about this. You're gonna say no, we didn't because you wasn't listening. And then when I tell you that we did talk about it because you didn't hear me because you wasn't listening, you're going to deny the fact that you toned me out the last time we talked about this because you wasn't listening, but you don't want to admit you wasn't listening. Do you see the problem here? It's a breakdown in communication. You're not listening when you're talking, and you're not listening if you're thinking about something else, whether it's what you're going to say when you respond or what's more important in this conversation. And in both scenarios, you effectively tone out the person that's talking at you because you're not listening to what they're saying. Michael said, if you can't afford to pay cash, you definitely can't afford debt. Yeah, there was no communication in that relationship there. He said, I like how she focused on the service fee of $10 and never said the cost of the VIP tickets and the VIP tickets maybe $500 or more. I'm mad you keep I'm gonna be real with you. If you buy tickets, ain't no damn $10 service fee on no damn tickets. You buy it. Y'all think about it. What is it? Light Bright or Bright Share, whatever the hell it is that y'all go to buy tickets online, and they charge you taxes on them damn tickets. The only time they charge you a fee of any kind is when you upgrade the tickets to some other shit. And this is a damn concert ticket. So you got bleacher seats, you got floor seats, and then you got to pay extra money for the behind the scenes shit, right? Now, if there's an extra $10 that's happening on this ticket, the ticket, like Michael said, might be $500. It might have been $250 a ticket, but because she wanted to go backstage, she upgraded the tickets, paid the $10 fee. He didn't want to go backstage. And y'all seen how Usher and Drake did them men's women's when them women's went backstage. Them women's didn't had no man after that. I ain't trying to go to no concert and I ain't trying to go to no backstage concert. So if she's spending extra unnecessary money on entertainment, why the fuck can't I go get a car? Boils down to unequal treatment, unfair decision making. And that's going to dial it back down to the fact that they are not discussing the needs and desires and expectations that each other have in this relationship. Now, clearly, she wants to stay in the relationship because while she's complaining about how he treats her 4 out of 7 days out of the week, she is in no way discussing her desire to vacate the relationship. So there is still hope. Now, in order for you to maintain this relationship, since you're not interested in leaving it, your partner has proactively, in the most disrespectful way possible, projected his dissatisfaction in the relationship, his active protest of inappropriately mistreating you, which I disagree with. He's showing you that he is unhappy in a relationship, which is a very feminine way to do that because what you have described to me is what I have heard and experienced women do for the last 40 years. So I don't know why he is acting so feminine. However, because you recognize that he is proactively expressing to you his lack of satisfaction in this relationship. You need to find out what his problems are. Make a huge list of them. And if you want to stay with him and not be treated the way you treat being treated, change the most dominant ones that he is complaining about the most. Now, this does not mean that you allow him to walk all over you. You have to be able to determine what parts of this is rational and what parts of this is not. The parts that you recognize are not rational, not logical, not favorable of both of you, that is the parts that you have to start the list of reasons why I'm going to get the fuck out of here. And once you cross that bridge, You're like, well, let me go ahead and pack my stuff up and get up out of here because this isn't going to work out because I'm not going to change this, this, and this. And you're not going to change this, this, and this if I don't change the three things I just listed. So as a result, we have unreconcilable differences. And with unreconcilable differences, we must part ways. But if we can work this out, we can work this out. I agree with Michael. She's staying for the money. And if she's staying for the money, she's staying for the resources that he provides. Likely, even though she's got a job, he's paying more than his fair share into the situation. And he's not getting nothing that he wants out of the situation. But she's getting everything that she wants out of the situation because she's deciding to grab things that don't cost nearly as much as what he wants. But if she can spend $300 a month on discretionary spending, she could sacrifice that $300 a month of discretionary spending on impulse buys to put that money towards helping him upgrade his car so that he's now satisfied with his transportation and your budget is not compromised. It is what it is. Michael said, and we'll take the abuse as long as her needs are met. There are a lot of women that do that. Look at the 20 women that dated Chris Brown. They were getting their ass whooped, dislocated rotator cuffs, broken hip bone, busted jaw, black eye. You know, they be throwing downstairs and all this stuff because the man got money. He's spending money on the woman and giving her the things that she want in life far above the things that she need in life. There are some women in life that will marry a man and live with the abuse. Diary of a Mad Black Woman style, just so that they can maintain that standard of living. Now, self-preservation dictates that that bullshit don't work out. You do not need to live in Beverly Hills or the Hamptons and be getting your ass whooped every day. You can live in the slums and be treated like a queen. You can live in the suburbs in between the slums and Beverly Hills and still be living like a queen. At least be respected as an equal. You don't need to be living in a mansion, 2-story, 10-bedroom house that your ass is not gonna clean so that you can be with a dude that's gonna get pissed off at you because you won't let him buy the new Hellcat. Or let's be real, y'all, because y'all said she complained about him playing video games and shit. She probably don't want him to get the car because he got the PlayStation online and the Xbox online, and he about to get the new GTA 6 and it pre-ordered for the PlayStation 6. And she's like, "You spending too much money on toys," and he don't want to hear it. She not talking about all the things that she's doing. She's just talking about all the things that piss her off about him. Y'all got to think about that. Make sure y'all like and subscribe as we go through these. That was just number two. We got some more. He said they both could save money. No tickets, no car. Yeah, you're right. They could both save money. Back in a few, taking the dogs out to potty. Want to come? Bro, you can take us with you. Because they got earbuds. You can listen to us on the earbuds. You can while the dog is pooping, you can be commenting. You can take me with you. It don't matter. I don't mind. It's, I I haven't gone live in public yet, but it's gonna happen eventually. And my dog waits until my show ends before I take him for a walk. So you know, I was actually supposed to take him for a walk before the show, but I took him for a walk late in the day, and then I took a long nap because I didn't have that many clients today. So when I woke up, I was like, "Shit, I got to start this podcast." He looked at me, I looked at him. I'm like, "Give me 3 hours, bro. I'm gonna take you as soon so as soon as I hit the end button on the podcast and the outro music starts playing, my dog is gonna jump up and stand next to the chair and be waiting on me to put my shoes on and take him outside. So go ahead and make it do what it do for you. Let's listen to this next one.
Me with girlfriend. She gets upset when I don't text back fast enough. I am 25, have been with my girlfriend who is 24 for about 8 months. Things are good overall, but one recurring issue is that she gets frustrated when I don't reply quickly to texts. Even if I'm just busy at work, or sometimes when I'm on YouTube or rolling and not looking at my phone, she'll bring it up later and say it feels like I'm ignoring her. I've explained that it's not intentional and that I care about her, but I can't always be glued to my phone. It's starting to stress me out because I don't want her to think I don't care, but I also don't want to feel pressured to respond within minutes every time. Has anyone else dealt with this? How do you set healthy expectations around texting without making your partner feel neglected?
First of all, you said you was rolling. Um, One thing you could do is you could stop doing drugs so that you're not incoherent enough to respond to your partner. The second thing you can do is you can proactively reach out to your partner more often so that your partner is not always the one initiating communication. Thirdly, if you're watching YouTube, you can picture in picture and you can text your partner while you're watching YouTube or Netflix or Hulu or anything for that matter, because most people got an iPhone and iPhone has a picture in picture because Samsung's got a picture in picture. And a lot of people who don't believe that Samsung is more efficient than iPhone, even though it is by far way better than iPhone, the same way I, as an Xbox owner, will admit that PlayStation has surpassed Xbox. The fact is that you have a way to communicate with your girl, but you don't want to. You're irritated at the frequency of which she communicates with you, and you believe that she can wait. Now, what you need to do is express that irritability. You contact me too many times in a day in comparison to what I'm used to. As a result, because I just talked to you, in my opinion, I feel like you can wait for my response since what you're communicating with me about is not an emergency in my observation. So I delay my response. Now, she understands that's why you're not responding. Now, I was going to get to that part. I was going to get to that part. Uh, However, having a partner that is reaching out to you to tell you they love you, they miss you. How was your day? Are you doing all right? Do you have everything that you need? Having a partner that reaches out to you like that every day, two, three times a day, five times a day, um, that's a blessing. And you should really value and appreciate that. So, what I would do if you're driving, you can't text back right away. On my phone, and a lot of people who have Samsungs have the same opportunity, you have a driver assist mode on your phone. The driver assist mode kicks back a message that says that you it can say whatever you want it to say, but my message says that I am in the middle of something that is preventing me from utilizing my phone. Leave your message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I would explain to her that I'm either at work doing something or I'm driving or something to that effect. And when you get that kickback message, I'm not holding my phone in that moment. As a result, as soon as I recognize that you have messaged me, I will message you back. When I don't want to be bothered with you or when I don't want to be bothered with my girl, I would put it into driver mode so that every time she texts me, she'll get that bounce back. Then she will wait for my response. Because unless you're unemployed, my guy, there is no reason why you're going to be 100% available 100% of the time. However, unless you really don't want her, there is absolutely no reason why you can't respond to her some of the time. Now, the other half of this, from the man's perspective, is fellas, you can ask her to reduce the quantity of times that she reaches out to you. You can ask her to delay her expectations on responses and replies. But also, fellas, listen, if you playing video games, you rolling, you on YouTube, you're what you're saying is that you're entertaining yourself and ignoring your woman, and you're mad that she wants a response from you because she know your ass ain't busy and you're not valuing her. At that point, as Michael said, kick his ass the fuck out. He is not showing you the respect that you need because if he wanted your attention in the middle of the night, waking you up because he's horny, he would expect you to give him the attention that he wants. If you're trying to talk to him throughout the day and he's playing video games and on social media, get off and talk to your woman. That's what you got her there for. Play games with her. Play some tic tac toe, Scrabble, Connect Four, some other shit. Don't be ignoring your girl because you're scrolling on social media. You can't say that you're too busy to respond to your girlfriend because you're on social media. Social media is not a fucking job, bro. Even as a podcast, if my partner called me while I was on this podcast, I probably would answer the phone the first time, but I would tell my partner in the beginning of my relationship that during the time of this podcast, show me the respect of not calling me and contacting me unless your internal organs are externally out of your body. And my partner would make sure that she reserves any contact and communication that she might have until after my podcast, with the exception of if I request for her to refill my cup of coffee because my coffee is out and the podcast is going to take too long. If I wanted my girl on my podcast, then she would be on the podcast with me, side by side screen kind of shit. But if I'm doing this and this is going to be my career kind of thing, then while I'm doing this for the 2, 3 hours that I'm doing this, can you wait until I'm finished and then I'll give you all the time that you need? But like Michael said, there are other things because you have speakerphone, you have video calling, you have wireless headset systems where you can do hands free. So you don't even need to hold your phone. As long as you're within Bluetooth range of your cell phone, she can call you and it can auto answer. And then you can just talk to her while you're playing video games or whatever the hell else that you're trying to do. Because I could put some gamer headphones on top of these headphones, and I can be listening to my Call of Duty while talking to my girlfriend on these headsets while this headset is Bluetooth to my cell phone. There is a way, if you really wanted to value the other person. You just don't want to do that. And at that point, recognizing that you're not as valuable as video games, you might want to remove yourself from that position. He said, "Ring, ring, ring." You don't tell me I'm beautiful. play play nakedest. The nudist part. Y'all make sure y'all like, subscribe. So this gentleman is being selfish and inconsiderate, and as a result, he is devaluing his partner, which is building resentment in his relationship, and they will eventually break up if he doesn't change his behavior. So we have had two fellas come through the show today, one that was complained about and the other doing the complaining, where they are not fulfilling their part as a supportive partner in a relationship. So, ladies, y'all got to understand. I'm uniform about this, though. I know they have some females like, "Oh, you curate your comments to only make women look bad." I do not. I grab the first 10 or 15 comments that are complete statements and I throw them into a voice app that puts out an audio file and then we listen to the shit they said. And then I respond to it because a lot of these, I didn't even read these motherfuckers. I was just like, oh, that looks like 500 words. That might be 3 minutes. Let me throw that in there. That's it. That's it. Shoot, they had some. The only time they got some, hold on real quick. The only time I got some that I got to really think about it is that they got some that are like racially driven. Um, there's one here that's highly compromising, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. And when we get to that one, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, yeah, that's deep. Uh, but the ones that are really pushing the community guidelines, those might be ones where I'll be like, I might not put that up there because by the time that person finished talking, I might get banned. I don't want to put those up there. But anything else, oh yeah, fair game. But anything that's like hate speech, direct devaluation of any group that can be classified as a you people, anything like that, yeah, that I'm not gonna put up here. So that's about the most screening that I do. But whoever's having their bitch fit for the day, I could care less. Sometimes it's more men than women, sometimes it's more women than men, and it's usually more women than men specifically because more women complain openly in public than men, and men have very few complaints, not because the women aren't doing anything wrong. It's because women don't recognize that the majority of men want very few of the exact same things. And the fact is that when you recognize that, you still don't change and satisfy the man that you have. And that's the reason why you're dealing with a non satisfactory relationship. He said, no good in bed. Tell him what you like. I promise we can learn. But that's true. That's true. If if the sex is bad, you're supposed to have communication during sex, which improves the sex. If somebody doesn't have a satisfactory sex drive as the other person, you have supplements that you can take. You can change your diet. If you reduce the stress and anxiety in a relationship, that will help. You can find other ways to stimulate arousal, which can help. You can deviate away from porn, do like a whole like cleansing scenario where you remove the desensitization from overstimulation, which will improve your drive. You can find a lot of ways to make it not a job, but still more meaningful for the both of you. If you guys try the retention strategy, once you start building up a lot of tension, you're now that you really feel like you got to get something in, now's the time for y'all to try to see what kind of passion y'all gonna have. But if you're drained, because men live all the a man's drive is also a man's energy. So at the same time, if he is drained, he is fatigued, low testosterone will lead to exhaustion. So if he is exhausted from work, guess what he doesn't have? The ability to perform after work. If he's one step away from passing out when he gets home from work because he's physically strained his body that much, he's not going to be as capable to perform for you as a man who doesn't have to go to work every day. And likewise, a guy who self gratifies on a regular basis doesn't have as much stamina as a guy who never has any gratification. So you have to think about that as well. So there are ways that you can change that. And a sex therapist can help. They're not supposed to give you a hand. They're supposed to give you advice because if they give you a hand, that's a happy ending. All right, let's touch base with the next one.
My husband is trying to kick me out of our home after his own infidelity. Wondering if I should go back by any means necessary to retrieve my items? 2 to 3 weeks ago, I found out my husband was cheating on me / being inappropriate. I ended things immediately. Not to give too much detail, but I ended it not because of the act itself, but because of the person it was with. Straight boundary crossed, and I am no longer willing to be in a relationship with this man any further. I left the home that day and haven't returned, mainly because I live both with my husband and I have my own home too. I returned home for obvious reasons. Because I won't come back, he has now turned into my enemy. Fine, but I want my personal belongings. He's changed electronic access to our home. Please don't lecture me on how this could happen. I have never saw this side of my husband, and I don't really know him at all. I just simply want my things, and we can handle the divorce and whatever else afterwards. He's basically told me not to come back to the house. My question isn't whether I should or not, because I am. I've contacted the police, and they said to just give them a call when I plan on going, and they'll escort me. I have a few friends lined up to help get in and out. It isn't a tier one of items, but it is enough that I want them, and also they're mine. I'd never do that to him or anyone. Cops kind of said you can get in however you want. Maybe hire a locksmith, though. I inquired about it, but it seems the local locksmiths kind of give the runaround, and I'm not sure how much this would cost me. Also, why would I have to pay for someone else being a huge pain in my A? I get mixed reviews on what to do. Half say just break a window, half say locksmith. There's a small window at the front door that if I make a small opening, I can open the door and let myself in. I want to avoid drama, but I'm also not asking for this. Ideally, I'd like to give him the heads up and say, hey, easy way or hard way. Open the door, leave for 1 hour, and I can be out of the way. If no response, well, I'm going to get in because I need to move on from this. Side note, I also left a car there that he has been driving, and it's in my name / financed by me. He hasn't made payments since I left, so I want to take that too.
This is some petty bullshit right here. All right, so let me start off by letting you know because they're married, technically it's community property. So the police will allow her to break into the house, destroy the house, and walk out of the house. And they're only required to protect her safety while she's there. However, because she voluntarily left the house and she had the opportunity to take us whatever she wanted with her, and she's been gone for 3 weeks, she technically moved out. So once she voluntarily removed herself from the house, he should have took all of her shit out of the house. Now, anything that she breaks, she's going to be responsible for as property damage during the divorce. So she can break a window, she can break the door. The reason why the locksmiths are giving her the runaround is because they legally are not supposed to break into the house for anyone. If she no longer has a key, as long as her stuff is identifiably accessible in the house, it is community property that is supposed to be divided in the divorce. She wants to make her rubber stamp on the relationship and show him better than she can tell him because she's unsatisfied with who he chose to sleep with. And she wants to come and get whatever she wants out of the house, whether it's hers or not. And she's going to take it and leave. Since she has her own residence and he has his own residence, if she cannot prove that they lived in the same house together, then she would be trespassing even if she is his wife. And he could sue her and potentially the police for anything that she takes out of his house. However, all of that is domestic disputes. She wants to break into his house. You're right. She wants to kick the door down. She wants to bust a window, and she wants to do it knowing that she's not going to go to jail. She's going to want to, while she's in there, because the police don't know what's hers and what's not, she's going to want to take something that he values so that she can stick it to him a little bit. She threw up something that uh, you wouldn't pay attention to real quick. He wants her to come back. So he's willing to work on it. She's not willing to work on it. She bought a car, gave it to him because when she left without that car. She's paying for the car. That's why he doesn't pay for the car. Now she's like, oh, I'm going to take back this car because she bought him a car. He cheated on her. And now take backseats. No, if you bought him the car, make it clear to him, I am no longer paying for this car. So if you're not going to pay for this car, then I need to return the car back to the dealership. If he wants to keep the car, he will assume the payments of the car. You make sure that so that you're not legally obligated to maintain possession of the car. You do the paperwork with the bank so that he is now the primary responsibility for the car and you back away from the deal. There are states where you can talk to the financier and make it clear because whatever happens, happens that he's going to pay for it or you can come get it, one of the two. But I don't have it and I'm not paying for something that I don't have. Now, by doing that, it is going to mess up her credit, but divorces typically mess up your credit. So there's not much that you can do about that. But she really just wants to get back at him because she's bitter about the fact that he cheated on her. But she got her own place. I'm gonna tell y'all something about breakups and divorces real quick. Michael said if she has her own place, there's no reason for her to be there. There is absolutely no reason, and now that's exactly what I was about to get into. There's absolutely no reason for her to go to his house. When she found out that he cheated on her because she got her own house, the only shit that should be at his house is the clothes that she brought to his house when she was staying the night by his house. So when they had the fallout argument where no, I don't want to talk about it. We're getting a divorce. Blase squaze. She should have packed up all her shit in the 2 to 3 briefcases that she would have had in that house and walked out of that house like that keep it on download video with R. Kelly. She should have been able to put 1 or 2 suitcases of her shit in a trunk of her vehicle that she paid for and drive off with that. And if she was leaving him and getting a divorce and Blase Squad said when she decided that she was leaving, she could have called her cousin, she could have called her daddy, she could have called the repo guy. And the day that she left, she could have told the fucking car that she didn't want him to have and took all of her shit and left that day. You've been gone for 3 weeks. You abandoned your property. However, you can come back for your property, within 90 days, but you can only come back for your property with the authorization of the property owner. You cannot just come back because you left your property in the house. So while the police officers are going to say, well, y'all are married, it's community property, if she tells the story right, she lives there and they can't stop her from breaking into the house because she lives there. But she moved out 3 weeks ago. She lives in her own house. He changed the locks. She must get a court order to enter the house. So recognizing that, he can have the police arrest her and press charges on her for breaking into his house, because if the police monitored her breaking into his house, once he proves that she did not have the legal right to be at the property at that time, that she willfully moved out and he changed the locks and she forcibly broke back in during the divorce, then she could face criminal charges. It'll be delayed because the police was misled by her statements. But once he proves that his house was broken into, and then it was unauthorized entry because she voluntarily moved out 3 weeks ago, oh, well, you only call an 811 if it happens at the house before the police get there, but she's going to do it while the police is there. This is the thing, though. If, because the police are saying that they will be there when she comes, so that if she goes into the house, that they won't let him hurt her, right? But it is his house. It is a domestic dispute. And as a result, he can stand at his door with a gun and make it clear that anybody that walks into his house will not walk out. And the police cannot stop him from doing that. They would have to ensure her that they will have to come back at another time when he's preferably not there, so that that could break into the house. But he would have to make it clear with the restraining order that she cannot come back to the house. And again, like I said, she's been gone for 3 weeks. First 48 hours when she said she was leaving, I'd have took all her shit off the property. I would have took all her shit off the property. And then I would take pictures of the entire house to show exactly how much of her shit is not there. Everything she bought me, everything she left behind, everything that I think she might want that I don't give a shit about, all of it would be gone. So after she breaks into the house, because my statement to the police is she don't live here. She moved out. There's nothing here that belongs to her. After she breaks into the house and there's nothing here that belongs to her, she's going to verify that all of her stuff is not there. Immediately, now, officers, I want to press charges for breaking and entering because she does not live here. She moved out a while ago and she does not have the right to return. If you move out of your apartment, give your keys back to the landlord, you cannot come back to that apartment. You have forfeited your possession of premises. When you have forfeited your possession of premises, you no longer have a right to that property, whether you're married to the property or not. But as a man, you got to know your rights. He said, she who? Get a new patio? Shit. Put it out on the curb. Nah, that's too nice. I'm not going to put it out on the curb. If if we gonna be petty, because truth be told, the nice thing to do is to put it out on trash day so that the garbage man takes it away. And if she see it before trash day, she can come get it. But the petty way to do it is to take all that shit out of the house, bring it cross town, put it into a storage unit in the middle of nowhere, and then during the divorce, sell it as part of liquidating the assets. Sell it in an estate sale. Get your money off of it because it's community property. The same way she can break into his house is the same way he could sell off all of her shit. Because he gonna need to buy him another car anyway, because the car that she bought for him, she about to take back. So he can sell all of her shit and use it as a down payment to get himself another car. But again, he did bring this on himself by cheating on his wife, which he should not have done. But she could be a little bit more rational and logical about this. And instead of causing a ruckus by breaking into his house, since her stuff is safe in his house, he's not doing nothing to her stuff, and he has an open invitation for her to return, she can proactively work through the divorce in a positive fashion and then request these things in a court order, or the value of those things if those things are no longer existing, where he would have a judgment against him to return to her the items or the value of the items at the time of the divorce, because she already got her own house. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the expectation of breakups, because whether y'all live together or y'all are married, um, when y'all break up, y'all use the excuse, "I want to go back and get my things," as a one last opportunity of closure, whether it's a positive closure or a negative closure. Some people use it as an excuse to try one more time to get back together and work things out. If your partner is not behaving the way you want them to behave, you take that as the final sign that this is truly over. But if you thought in your mind that I am done, I am gone, I am not doing this anymore, you do not leave your shit behind. You take it with you. So when you left, everything you left behind did not matter to you. Okay? Because if y'all live together, we're not talking, you just cheated, I'm fed up, that's fine. But I'm not leaving though. I'm not leaving though. I'm not leaving until brother and brother come down with the U-Haul truck and pack up all my shit. I'm not leaving until U-Haul come through and grab all of my shit. And we're gonna do the U-Haul with the truck and trailer because I'm taking the car with me. I'm not leaving until I take everything with me. So we will not talk to one another in the house. He's gonna try to work it out with me, and I don't want to hear it every day. We're gonna have quiet dinners together. We're not when he come in, I go out. When I come in, he's gonna be asleep. But I'm not leaving until I'm capable of taking all my shit. Because as long as he believes that there's an opportunity for us to work this out, he's not changing the locks. He changed the locks because I left 3 weeks ago. But if I was coming back to the house every day, he would not have changed the locks because he fucked up. I didn't fuck up. He fucked up. He's going to be apologizing the whole time. He could apologize. I could say, "I forgive you. I'm not mad at you. I don't want to talk about it right now. Give me some space. Leave the situation alone." And during this time, I am organizing the moving crew. He could go to work because I still live in the house every day. While he's at work, we clean out the house. And when I leave, I take all of my shit with me. He's going to come home from work, see the house half empty, and call me, and his number is blocked. I'm not coming back. But when you leave the house and you leave shit at the house, you do that on purpose because you want to fuck with that person one more time because that shit didn't matter to you. Because if it mattered to you, you wouldn't have left it. But the excuse is, "It's mine. It's mine. So I got every right to come and get it." No, the fuck you don't. You know, when the police sees your shit in the middle of an investigation, it's yours. It's yours. But you can't go down to the police lockup and go get your shit back. You got to get a court order to allow you to get your shit back. So as a result, you got to do the same thing in this marriage. Michael says some marriages are better off friends. Truth be told, that's one of the reasons why, just like we talked yesterday, is that the millennials are doing more common law dwellings where they live together for 10, 15, 20 years as opposed to marrying one another. Because if the relationship is only going to last 3 to 5 years anyway, it's easier for us to part ways and not have to go through the legal process of separating financial estates. And if we are already financially bound to somebody in marriage, we cannot become financially bound to somebody else in another marriage until we annul or dissolve the previous marriage. So we have to spend money in court. Even if we both agree that we're going to get divorced, we've already divided up all of the assets, there's no arguments involved, we still have to go through the legal process. And the legal process in the United States requires you to separate for a year, potentially pay for some counseling, and put in effort for the marriage before the judge actually approves of the divorce. Otherwise, you have to be separated for more than a year, where it is considered abandonment of the marriage, so that the court can facilitate the divorce without any effort involved, where both people sign off and agree after a year and a half of being separated, we should still get divorced. But that also means that for that year and a half, you're married but separated. Y'all have no intention of getting back together. And because you're married, society frowns upon you for finding a new partner. It's a complicated situation, but the fact is that you can't move on for almost 2 years after you agree to part ways. So you're supposed to proactively. One of the things about the court system is that you are not supposed to utilize the court system until you cannot resolve the situation prior to the court system. So you would have to be able to show proof that you put in effort to resolve the situation prior to taking legal action. If y'all been to marriage counseling, y'all done the separations, y'all done everything that y'all can do, you put it into motion, you file it with the judge, we're not getting back together, we both agree that it's done, judge signs off on it, that's an open and shut case. It'll happen within 30 days. But that's because you put the 18 months in before you file for the divorce. But that's still money, because the cost of court is still almost $500 to get divorced, when it was almost $150 to get married. That's $600 worth of money thrown away. And then you're going to spend another $150 to get married to a new person. So it's cheaper to just live together and file separate. Because when you file joint, you get 150% of what a single person would get. But if you file separate, y'all both get 100% of what a single person would get. And the person who files for head of household gets slightly more than the person that files single. So technically, it's cheaper to live together than it is to get married. But if you're going to combine your income and you're going to combine your standard of living, then if y'all together don't make enough, 150% give y'all enough where one of y'all is a dependent, y'all get a few tax deductions, and y'all can have the maximum quantity of family life deductions that comes from the local government. But there's very few benefits from filing joint in comparison to filing separate, especially when you can file separate with an LLC and a partnership. So, like I said, I got divorced, not contested. You signed the legal documents, and she paid. That was smart. She want to go, she could pay for it. But you know what I feel like? If she wanted to get married, she should pay for that shit too. If I'm paying for you during the dating phase and I'm paying for you during the marriage phase, you should pay for the honeymoon, you should pay for the marriage, and you should pay for the divorce. Reasonably balanced contributions. That's what I feel like. Truth be told, if I thought you were an interesting person, if I pay for the second day, you should pay for the third day. We should do every other day. If I pay for one date and we have a free date after that, you pay for the next date that costs money, and then we have another free date after that. But that means I only paid twice out of 4 dates. Equality or uniformity in some way, some levels of balance. If I buy the engagement ring and she for the wedding, and then I throw down for the honeymoon, if I'm going to spend $10,000 on the ring and $15,000 on the vacation for us to have the wedding, she should be able to pay 25 to $50,000 for the wedding. It shouldn't all be 100% on the man. And then when the divorce happens, she's going to file for the divorce, pay for cost of court. And some women are bitter, so they're going to take half of the man's estate anyway. If you're going to get half of everything that I got going on in this divorce, no, I'm not paying for shit. Now, just like I told you before, if y'all got an agreement together, y'all got a binding contract of this marriage. He said, you even after the divorce, $60,000 thrown away. Yeah, that's a lot of money. But um, if you have the kind of contract that dictates that if she's filing for divorce for unvalid and unjustifiable reasons, where you would have to be on the up and up, and she's just filing for divorce because she petty, then she would be in breach of contract, and the 40 or 50% of your income that she would be trying to get in alimony would be the dollar amount identified value of breach of contract. She would get the divorce. She might get the alimony. She might get the child support. But a counterclaim for breach of contract that would be actionable in a civil court would nullify what you would have to pay her in family court. So the amount of money that you owe her minus the amount of money she owes you for breach of contract, she don't get shit. You could do that. You just got to have the right lawyers and the right verbiage, and both of y'all sign those contracts with clear, conscious minds, not like the other guy rolling. The rolling implies that this man be on Molly and not talking to his girlfriend. That's the other guy, not this guy. But I just feel like these people don't got the right frame of mind. She ain't talk about who he cheated on her with, but it was either her best friend, her sister, or her mama. And whoever it was, she ain't having it. I don't blame her, but what she did wasn't cool. Not the way she went about it wasn't cool. Talking about some, I'ma break a window, I'ma go fuck out of here. Break my window. All right. All right. Y'all seen Hills Have Eyes, right? You gonna walk up in that house and you gonna be you $60,000 down could get you $40,000 house or more. You right. You right. $60,000 down could get you a $500,000 house if you in the right state. Because a lot of how some states only require you to put down 5%. So $60,000 towards 5% will put you upward of uh that's like $1 million right there, right? Because $60,000 is 10% of $600,000. So $1.25 million house would be $60,000 at 5%. Some in some states. So you could be doing a lot with 60 grand. So you be throwing that shit down on a marriage and you throwing that shit away. I tell people all the time these days, fuck getting married and having this big ass ceremony where all you doing is impressing your friends and bragging about the fact that somebody finally accepts your bullshit for a reasonable period of time. Fuck all that. This is what you need to be doing. Take the value of the ring, invest it. Take the value of the honeymoon, invest it. Take the value of the marriage, invest it. Put it into a trust. Have it maximum dividend paying type of investment portfolio where y'all both get paid 50% of that trust for the remainder of your marriage. If you're going to get married, y'all can go down to the justice of the peace and knock that back with $150, but you don't have to get married. You can just buy a $200 ring off of Zales and just have the symbolism of marriage and just get you a fucking joint bank account. Then all you have to do is live off of the difference. Now, you can support your marriage by continuing to add money to the trust, and both of y'all equally add money to the trust. As that trust builds up, if y'all separate, if the ring was 10 grand and the wedding was 40 grand or 50 grand, that's 60 grand in a stock option. If it's pulling back 15% interest, that is going to be $1,500 bank, which is going to be like $6,000 coming back off of 60 grand. Not a lot of money, but each of you gets $3,000 a year. Not a lot of money. But if you're married for 5 years, you put that 60 grand up to start the trust and start the marriage, and then you added 10 or 20,000 a year to that for 5 years. You're upward of $120,000, which means you're making closer to $20,000 a year, which is $10,000 a year per person that's being kicked back to you if y'all decided to separate 5 years in. I'm going to be honest with you. If you are in a relationship where you start getting a $1,000 to $5,000 per month payment from being in this relationship, and you ask yourself, do I want to dissolve that and put more effort into my standard of living? You would really be considering all of the ways that you could try to make this work before you back out of it. You really would. He said, best investment, a home, and throw a reception. I wouldn't even throw a reception. Fuck a reception. We can go to McDonald's and order us a bunch of Happy Meals. We can go. We can order 15 Subway sandwiches because you shouldn't need. All you need is 2 to 4 witnesses. You don't need 40, 50 people. You don't need 200, 300 people. This is what he said. Simple couple thousand. But you don't. You really and truly compounded at 7%. Nah, compounded at 15 to 18%. I gave you guys a whole bunch of they scroll across the screen most days out of the week. Here, look at this right here. All these stock options right here. If y'all threw this together, y'all took the ones with the highest dividend payout, lowest cost. Y'all be getting 18 to 19% interest across the majority of your platform. You would be able to set up the type of portfolio that would likely give you on average about 15 to 17% average, which would ultimately, even after taxes and inflation, you would still be benefiting from damn near 10%. After you've paid taxes and after inflation has devalued the cost of your spending money, you would still be getting upward of 10%. And the fact is that that would be the ability to take care of your shit. But yeah, 6 foot long sandwiches from Subway. And no, you want to cut them in half. So 6 foot long cut in half should be able to give 12 people a 6 inch sub. Yeah, 6 inch sub instead of 6 foot long. That's it. You only need 2 people. You don't need to be spending all that money on entertaining everybody. And what I was about to say, truth be told, if if we lived in a society that was more involved, he said a tub of potato salad. Yeah, if we lived in a society that was more involved, more socially involved, you would have a marriage that would occur where mom and dad would pay for the marriage, or the husband's dad and the wife's dad would pay for still making it the man's responsibility, but in-laws would pay for the marriage and the honeymoon. So the bride and the groom wouldn't pay for shit. Society would throw a celebration. So the reception would be held by the family and friends who support the marriage. So the bride and the groom wouldn't pay shit. In those situations, if your society supports your union, you get a free marriage. If your society doesn't support your union, you pay for it. Think about that. In a society where women invested in the relationship, it wouldn't be primarily the man's financial responsibility from the first date to the last breath. If the women take financial responsibility of some of the things, he might pay for some of the dates, but she'll pay for the wedding, or she'll pay for the wedding and the divorce, and he'll pay for everything in the middle. But all of the burden should not be on one party. But yeah, if y'all put it up and y'all invested it, and y'all, especially if you're investing it and you're looking at, 100, 200, 300, $400,000 sitting in the bank 5 or 7 years into the marriage, y'all are gonna have less money problems, which means y'all gonna have less arguments. Because if you have a trust that reinvests 60% of the profits back into the trust and then splits the other 40% between the 2 people, each person gets 20%, you've got a growing trust on an annual basis that y'all can continue to reinvest in, where at some point y'all can retire. And when you start thinking about, man, there's $500,000 in this trust, there's 750,000 in this trust, I'm getting paid $20,000 as my cut out of my relationship. I don't want to walk away from this. Let's make this work. Let's figure something out. But the fact is that not too many people do that. They waste money. They live above their means, and as a result, they find themselves in a position where the women have nothing to lose by breaking up, and they have everything to gain by getting into the relationship. The men have everything to lose to get into the relationship and have even more to lose after long-term investments in a relationship and then the breakup. And I believe that there is an imbalance there. And I strongly believe that the 70% of women that walk away from their marriages and walk away from their relationships are only able and willing to do that because they do not have anything that they are going to lose out of the situation. Take the woman that was just pissed off. Oh, I want that car back because he's not paying notes on it. Well, in a marriage where the man is making more money than the woman would keep the car and the house, and he would still have to pay the notes on the car and the house because that's what happens in a divorce. Now, if she had to think about the fact that she would be legally obligated to pay for the car and she can't take the car from him because she bought it for him as a gift, would you still divorce him or would you go to marriage counseling? You're still financially responsible for this 25, 30, $50,000 car. Would you divorce him? Because the majority of people in society put their money where their household at, put their money where their heart's at, put their money where they sleep at night. So if you can't move your money from this establishment, most people typically stay with the money. Because why the fuck am I paying for two houses? If I got to pay for your house and my house, I might as well rent out my house and stay in your house. He said, to death do us part as she needs. Well, you could put some X-Lax in the drinks now. He said most expensive property in the world is yes, and they auction it off to the highest bidder sometimes. It's really ridiculous. Let's check on the next one because we do got a few more of these. These are wild.
Has anyone ever actually gotten in a relationship with someone after sleeping with them on a first date? This seems to be the kiss of death every time. But just wondering if it's ever worked out for anyone.
Plenty of people do that. Plenty of people meet somebody, have a good time. They end up having wild throws across the house, and then they wake up the next day. They don't leave each other's side, and that turns into a relationship. It's usually a rebound relationship, and it never works out. You guys did not get together because of common ground, mutual interest, or shared values of any kind. You guys got together because you filled a void and the sex was good. And as long as the sex stays good and there are no other expectations between the two parties, everything is fine. But when one person evolves and start having demands that are outside of the bedroom, or the woman usually holds out on sex, once that happens, that engagement starts to erode quickly. And when that happens, that's when the relationship falls apart because of the foundation of the relationship was strictly physical. But there are some relationships that are toxic relationships where emotions can develop, and those emotions lead to a the fighting and arguing because y'all do not have shared values, y'all cannot compromise, but y'all don't want to part ways because the sex is good. So he said threesome, don't care getting a threesome. Ah, I'm not. It's most men's desire to have a threesome, especially with twins. But the logic behind that is that now you got two people to fight with, and if they're both on the same side today, it's two against one, and it's gonna piss you off. It's a lot more stress. Now, if they're compliant and cooperative, yeah, fantasy. But again, fantasy. It's a dream. It's unrealistic. Let's try the next one.
What the hell happened to old in between 2023 and now? I'm 39 right now. 2 years ago in the summer, I got onto Hinge and Tinder. I don't consider myself particularly attractive, and I wasn't particularly in shape back then. But with some good pics and an inoffensive profile, and not being a creep, I was able to land several dates. Fast forward to this summer, I came back to Hinge after a self-imposed hiatus. I have been active and have gotten in shape. I redid my profile and added some new pics. Since then, nothing. Nada. Zero. It's dire out here. Did I just age myself out the desirable age range? What the hell happened to all the dating apps that things are so much shittier now?
Well, we talked about this on the show right before. Yeah, he said hinged. Hinge. Hinged. What happened was when you were first utilizing the app, you were active and reactive to the the algorithm. You were getting matches, you were connecting with folks. Whatever reason was that caused you to go on hiatus put you in a position where your account got archived due to non-activity. As a result, when you started becoming active, you were not being shown to other people. While you are mildly active on the account, no one is interacting with your account. And because no one is interacting with your account, the account is not being driven by the algorithm. Male accounts do not get as many views as female accounts. So male accounts do not get as much traffic as female accounts. However, the algorithm is not biased towards males or females. They are tuned to the accounts that gets the more interaction. So more female accounts be passed around, even though there are more males on the account not getting hits from females. Got to think about that. Now, one way that you can change that is if, again, Money Pit, you start buying premium membership, diamond package memberships, and by spending extra money on the platform, they will start showing your profile to more accounts. More people will respond to your profile, which will drive more traffic to your profile, which will allow you to have more interactions. However, the algorithm is not designed to help you find love. It might help you find hookups, but it's not actually designed to help you find love because if you find love, you get back off the app. It's designed to allow you to connect to other people so that you're communicating with that other person while on the app. Um, but there's no transition off of the app. See what I'm saying? The apps are not designed to help you get off the app. The app is designed to keep you on the app. And then whenever you start feeling alone and everything like that, you're going to get back on the app. Now, one thing I can tell you is that using one dating platform is not always enough. If you're trying to maximize responses from the limited quantity of hits that you get, you would have 3 to 5 different dating apps, depending on what market the dating app uh, uh, focuses on, depends upon how much traffic you're going to get on your profile or your platform. He says, feeling love, that's $5 more per month. Not for a dating platform. Feeling love is going to be like $49.99 a month to feel loved. He said, turn to keywords, which trigger? Tune the keywords. Yeah, you're right. Because if he changed his platform, he changed his bio, whatever his bio used to be that used to trigger a lot of women isn't triggering a lot of women. So you got to figure out what you changed in your bio, and that might get you more responses. If you're trying to get unrealistic expectations, you can do things like say, I like to travel, I like cooking, this, that, and the third, and I like going to lavish events and things to that effect. And when you start putting in those keywords that what gold diggers typically look for is a guy that's willing to be a sugar daddy, then you'll get a lot more hits, but you're not going to find meaningful relationships. You're going to find a lot of women that's willing to enjoy time with you at your expense. So if you curate it to your benefit, you're going to get less responses, but you will get more meaningful responses when you get a response. So again, that puts you back to 3 to 5 different apps, 3 to 5 different dating apps, and you check those dating apps every day. And while you're going to have less traction on each individual app, you will have more responses overall between all of the apps. That'll be the best way to work that out. Doesn't mean that you're going to have a heightened level of dates, but you'll have a heightened quantity of people to respond to, which will give you minimalistic traction on each one of those profiles, which will give you the ability to find at least one person per month to go on a date with. But if you're paying for a membership on 3 to 5 apps, you're throwing away hundreds of dollars a month so that you can pay for 2 to 3 dates a month, which is throwing away hundreds more dollars a month just so that you don't feel alone. When you can just put that money away, invest, save, and then fly to another country and find somebody who will value you more than the women in your country. Because if you can't find them in the grocery store in your local neighborhood, you need to save until you can afford to get a passport to find them in passing as soon as you get off the airplane. Life is always better when you end your day with more knowledge than you started. And always start your day off by putting pants on. Hopefully putting pants on, because you got some of these chicks going outside with a Victoria's Secret lingerie on talking about some that's a new outfit. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Michael. We got a couple more going on, so they're going to be pretty quick because they're short, but I appreciate you hanging out longer than you normally do. Next one.
Dating feels so hard after college. 25 now, and I've been struggling after college to meet new girls. In college, I had a good group of friends with Greek life and other people, but all of my friends scurried across the country to different parts, and not a single one of my college friends lives in my current city. I've been meeting a few new people, but my job in sales kind of socially exhausts me, so I don't have as much energy, and I'm not the biggest fan of rolling up to a bar by myself. I tried it a few times, and just ended up missing friends. My job is essentially a call center, so it's hard to really get to know my coworkers, as we can't take our headsets off. Any advice? I'm not super religious anymore, so I'm not church faring. I see girls around my age at the gym, but I really don't want to be that guy that goes up to interrupt them. I was back home in a small town for about 2 years after college, and there was only a handful of girls there my age, but they were all married. Small southern town for you. Since I moved to a medium-sized city, I have met just one girl who was around my age and single, and she came up to me first to talk to me after I complimented her haircut. We went to eat after the bar, but it didn't go anywhere after that. My satellite office is small with only 6 of us, and the others aren't that interested in going out. They mostly have girlfriends, and that's likely why, but I've only been out with one time, and his GF made him come back home LMAO.
uh, so you don't like being alone, and that's why you're not capable of socializing. Get yourself a hobby that works around your schedule. Get yourself a hobby in a public place that other people are capable of doing. That is not the gym. Maybe pottery, maybe a cooking class, uh, yoga class, anything. And then the other people that join the class, you can try to interact with them after the class in the parking lot. You can um, go to places like a bar isn't really a place that you can go to find quality companionship. It's a place to go to wallow in self pity. Alcohol is a blocker, but alcohol also drives depression. So people who are sad and depressed can go to a bar and drink away their sorrows, because you go and you drink at the bar to do one of two things: to forget something that you don't want to remember, or to remember something that you don't want to forget. Or, or in some situations, remember something that you didn't want to remember. But in all scenarios, you go to the bar to turn your mind off and escape from reality. So you get wasted and, karaoke night and, whatever. But true, you can go to a karaoke bar and you can go out there and grab you a couple of drinks and, blow out your vocal cords on the mic, and you could find a few people that you can hang out with and interact with. But again, they're going to be very shallow um, engagements because these are individuals that only came for the karaoke night and y'all are only enjoying that engagement together. Now, if you go there long enough, you can be the open ear to somebody else's lifestyle and standard of living. And then because you were willing to listen to them wallow in self pity, you can then allow them to listen to you wallow in self pity. And then you'll be in a position where you guys start formulating the type of platonic bond that might exist outside of that karaoke night, but that requires you to leave your house. So if you don't have a routine where you're going to a public place like a city park, beach, lakefront, um, places where a lot of people gather that doesn't necessarily have a lot of children in it, because as men, we are socially stigmatized where we can't go and sit at a public park that has a bunch of kids on the swing and stuff because they're going to make it seem like we're a creep. So we can't go talk to some kid's mom at the park because we're some dirtbag preying on the kids. When we weren't there for the kids, we were there for the kid's mom. We can't do that. So, which is unfair because I mean, we should be able to go anywhere in society where we're not intentionally attempting to commit a crime. We should not be devalued and presumed to be in the attempts of a crime. But we're in a society where you're condemned before you're praised. So you got to go places where meeting people is not frowned upon, and then hover around individuals that are doing the same thing that you're doing at the same time in hopes that they're going to start communicating with you. And because they initiated the engagement, you can support the engagement and try to lead that to exchanging communication with one another, where y'all could at least guarantee each other that you're going to be at the same place at the same time the next time that you go out. That would be the best thing to go. Beyond that, you can save a lot of money by not going out and hanging out with folks. Because you were in Greek life, everybody went to the same college. Y'all were there 4 to 5 days a week. Y'all scheduled events because Greek life has annual events, weekly events, monthly events. And if you know the Greek life calendar, even if you're not in a fraternity, you can have a very eventful college life. If you're seen at all of the Greek life events, you can have a very Greek friend group. But once you graduate from college, nobody's doing anything with anybody because people move to where the college is to go to college, and then they move away from the college when they finish the college. They go back to where they came from or they go somewhere new. So unless you live in the neighborhood of the college, where as an alumni you can go back to Greek life and hang out with people 10 or 15 years younger than you and enjoy the Greek life continuously as an alumni, where they're not going to judge you because you are part of Greek life alumni. They would actually have more respect for you because you're part of the last greater generation of Greek life. You would be able to live like a freshman for 20 years, seemingly. You wouldn't be able to hook up with too many of the girls when you're 20 years older than them. But if you're 10 to 15 years older than them, they're probably not going to object that much. Now, uh, again, if you were to save up a lot of your money and not waste time on the socializations of the week to week, you could plan for vacations where instead of going on vacations out of the country, you could go on vacations out of your nearby city and spend a little bit more time interacting with other individuals. You could do weekend getaways once a month where you could go to different locations outside of the city that you're in, or you could save up enough money to move to a completely different city, if your job is able to relocate, and then you can find another way to interact with other people. Now, since you work for a call center, you might want to start up a side business. And if you start up a side business, you have extra ways to find meaningful people to get involved with because the side business will be supported by communication. So the startup will have you interacting with investors, interacting with clientele, and because you are focused on building up your business, you're not focused on filling an emotional void when you're interacting with women and when you're interacting with other people. It is just business. So the confidence of you promoting your business will have them respect and value who you are and what you're trying to accomplish, because you have two jobs: the startup business and the full-time job that's paying you. And any woman that is talking to you that might not be interested in your service, but they might be interested in what you have to offer as a man, might start developing a relationship with you. And if she works in the field that you are starting up in, she might want to partner with you and turn that into a highly developed business. So you got to think about it that way. But the only way to find more people to communicate with is for you to take your ass outside of your house and start talking to strangers. The exact opposite of what we were taught when we were kids. We were taught when we were kids, never talk to strangers. As adults, you never not talk to strangers. You greet people in the grocery store, you hold random conversations with the cashier, you greet people at the traffic light, you hold an extended conversation with the cop after the traffic ticket. So you just enjoy the fact that you got pulled over because now you got somebody to talk to for 30 minutes. You're the most pleasant person. You might actually get out of the ticket because you're talking to this cop a long period of time. Like you're not even trying to start no shit. He pulled you over. Hey, officer, how was your day? Man, yeah, the weather's good out here today. Oh yeah, no, here's my license and registration. Have you been busy today? You pulled over very many people today, you know. And then when he comes back and gives you the ticket, oh man, no, we're good, we're good. You know, is this the beginning of your shift or you're almost over? You know, when's your next vacation day? Like how often have you been doing this? Like, have you been doing this for 20? You can have a whole conversation with the cop. Yeah, cops are people too, right? Did you know that police officers have a hard time finding people that are non-police officers to socialize with because society doesn't like police officers? You might find you a really good friend in a cop. You will have to behave yourself by law, but you might find you a really good friend in a cop because cops don't make friends that easily. But you would find really good friendship with the loyalty from the cops, the way their blue blood loyalty is trained into them. If you make friends with the cop, as long as you don't piss off that cop unnecessarily, you've got you a ride or die. That'll potentially get you out of some trouble going forward. So while you might have to take care of the ticket this time, they might vouch for you and let you get off on a warning the next time if y'all hanging out week to week on his off time. And you got to understand, cops that were cops before they started dating, cops that got married after they started being cops, after they started dating, they met people probably in the line of duty, exchanged contact information, and then turned it into something. Not always does it happen when they're the suspect of an investigation, but it does happen. The stuff you see on TV is facts based on a fictional story, real to life facts put into a fictional story. So these things happen. It's not all fake because you got to understand that we're in a society that doesn't have an imagination. So in order for them to come up with the storylines that they come up with, they have to take real shit that has happened and put it on TV for entertainment. They're going to change the environment, change the parties that were involved, put a spin to it as to the circumstances that led up to the actual actions that occurred. But the stuff that happens that makes us stay glued to the TV, that shit happened to somebody somewhere. We just didn't know about it. Let's go on to the next one.
My husband, who's 30, is a sex offender and I am in free fall. Is there a way to move forward? My husband was just arrested after admitting he followed a 79-year-old woman home and groped her. He followed her, ran up, groped her, and ran away, all within the span of 30 seconds. He confessed right away, and now he's facing serious charges. I'm in complete shock. There were no signs he was capable of something like this. He's been my best friend and life partner for years, and we have kids together. Overnight, my whole life blew up. I'm 29 and suddenly looking at raising my kids alone while trying to wrap my head around the fact that the person I loved most did something like this. I don't excuse it, but I also can't just shut off my feelings. I miss him. I still love him. And at the same time, I feel disgusted and betrayed. It's like my brain and heart are fighting constantly. How do you even begin to move forward after something like this? How do you rebuild when your family and your future vanish overnight? Any advice from people who have lived through something that turned their life completely upside down would help. Right now, I just feel like I'm free falling with no ground under me. This is the worst thing I've ever been through in my life. I know that this is not typical of him and was out of character. He described it like he was watching himself do it, but didn't understand why, and feels profound guilt for harming someone. He says he needs help, that something is wrong, and he is not himself, and I believe him. He is getting a neuropsych evaluation, and hopefully they'll be able to pinpoint what caused this and potentially get a brain scan. I don't think he's beyond help, and I know he's not a deviant by nature. He is my best friend. He is my comfort, my love, my everything. He's the best dad, and I just can't understand any of it. All I want is him, but I know I'll never have him again. Regardless of the outcome, I have to leave him. I obviously can't look past this, but I am so broken. I am devastated.
Okay, I think you're blowing this out of proportion because he didn't do more than just grab a butt cheek or something. Um, Not saying that that's appropriate, not saying that that's okay. Uh, Even Donald Trump was like, grab him right in the, you know what I'm saying? So the the fact is that while he did inappropriately grope this woman, he just, you said it happened all within 30 seconds. This wasn't like 45 minutes of holding her down and taking advantage of her and rape kits and all this other stuff. This is just like um a inappropriate hands-on situation that was full on, you said 30 seconds at the most. The entire following her, grab whatever and then run off scenario. Now you're making it seem like the dude is a full on monster, but let's be real that while I don't agree with it, men grab butts of women and fondle women in public. It usually in bikini bars, strip clubs, Hooters, restaurants, and other such places. While that is highly inappropriate, the fact is that they do that, and a lot of those men are married, and their wives know and don't care. Um, I think because he felt bad for what he did and allowed himself to be arrested for it because he turned himself in on the situation, from what you explained to me. Um, they're gonna put him on probation as a first offense, and then he's gonna go back home. There isn't a reason why you have to divorce him for this. If he's going to come off of a minor insanity plea, part of the deal or whatever, they're going to put him on probation and expunge his record after this, but he's going to be on a register because of this situation. In Louisiana, they would have cut off his balls just for that. Just once you get convicted of it, they're going to cut off your balls. So that sucks. But the fact is that you got a couple kids. He made a bad decision, and now he's got to live with it. When you married him for better or for worse. So if he would have taken three lives in the situation and he gets released, he's still your husband. Okay. If he would have been drunk driving and ran over a toddler, he's still your husband. You know, if he would have been smoking and fell asleep and set the house on fire and two neighbors lost their lives in the house fire, he's still your husband. Uh, so your lack of loyalty and devotion and dedication and support to his stupid decision, because you're not supposed to condone his decision, but you're his wife. You vowed to stay with him for better or worse. You're supposed to be able to recognize that while you don't approve of his behavior, the same way Hillary Clinton did not approve of Bill Clinton's behavior in the White House, The same way Donald Trump's wife didn't approve of him paying $135,000 to get laid with a prostitute, you're still supposed to be able to stay with your husband and work that shit out. Okay. Still, what he did was wrong, but you're making it all about you. How is it all about you? How is your life turned upside down? How is your life ruined as a result of this? You still go to work every day. You still come back home every day. He didn't go out and get an STD and give it to you. How are you negatively impacted by this? His kids, if this is in local news, might get picked on by their classmates if it made it to the local news. But if it was an insignificant scenario that didn't even make it to the papers, where nobody's really talking about this, he's going through the legal motions. It's swept under the rug. You could go to counseling and y'all could work this out. Sex addicts who willfully cheat on their partners because they have an impulse that they can't control can still maintain a relationship with their partners while going to like a sexaholics anonymous class to work through their issues. If their issues are for some reason devoured from their childhood, they're going to work through their issues. You, as their married partner, are supposed to support their ability to get help if they recognize that what they're doing is out of character and it is now beyond their control, where they might have been repressing this behavior for a long period of time, but now they're no longer able to repress this behavior and they need help. You, as his wife, are supposed to be supportive if he knows he needs help and you know he needs help too. So the fact that you're not willing to be supportive makes you a bad wife, in my opinion, because his ability to run out there and grab somebody's butt cheek and get arrested for it doesn't mean you should divorce him. Because your ability to make out with another chick at the bar doesn't mean that he should divorce you. Your ability to make out with a random guy at the bar doesn't mean that he should divorce you. The fact is that in the moments of weakness, when you make the stupidest decisions, you have to live with that for the rest of your life. But your partner, who vowed to stay with you at your worst, is the person that vowed to wash the blood off of your clothes and help you hide the body. That is for better or for worse. So because you're identifying yourself as his wife, not his girlfriend, because girlfriends don't have that responsibility. Girlfriend can be like, oh, fuck this. I am not going to marry this guy. But you married him and you should have knew what the fuck you was marrying before you married him. And when you married him, that was a lifelong commitment, which means that some bullshit will go down that you don't agree with, but you're supposed to work through that. Not all people are going to do it. Some people are going to be like, oh, hell no, I'm out. But the truth is, you signed up for that shit. The for worse part. Y'all need to think about y'all vows before y'all have those vows and really ask yourself, are you willing to commit yourself to that person for the worst possible scenarios? Because this would be one of those worst scenarios. The same way if he would have got a sex charge, the same way he would have robbed a bank, the same way that he would have took a life accidentally or took a life deliberately or took a life out of anger to protect you or to take a life out of defense of you or to take a life out of the defense of one of your kids, the worst case scenarios, you're still supposed to stand by him as he accepts the consequences of his actions. That doesn't mean that you're not capable of moving on with the rest of your life. It just means that you're not supposed to allow yourself to be held back by his decision making. So, yeah, if he goes to prison and he's in there for 5 or 10 years, you're a single mom until he gets out. But when he gets out, he's still your husband. The same way he signs up for the military and he's gone for 5 or 10 years on tour. When he comes back, he's still your husband. It's not about you when he has to accept the decisions that he makes. It's about him. Now, as it pertains to you, Do you not have the level of loyalty to allow mistaken infidelity of any kind in your relationship? And if you are the kind of person that does not tolerate any level of infidelity in your relationship, then you must, in your next relationship, hold yourself to a higher regard, because you're not, as a woman, allowed to have an emotional relationship outside of your marriage or your dating relationship, because that's a level of cheating as well. So whether you, with permission, grope a woman, or without permission, grope a woman, you are still devaluing your marriage. You're still devaluing your relationship. And whether you grope a woman or have a full on affair, the response as the married partner is supposed to be the same. Work it out. Either way, if you just can't deal with it, you can't look at him the same. His hands are tainted because the cheeks of another woman sat in his palm. Go ahead, divorce him. But I can guarantee you, because as much as you talk so bad about his action, you claim that he was such a good dad, he was such a good husband, it was a one time outlier thing. You're not supposed to condemn a person for a one time outlier thing when he's been your lifelong partner, your lifelong friend, best father to your kids. You're not supposed to destroy all of that off of one action. If it was multiple actions, maybe, but one action shouldn't be enough. Because if that's the case, that whole lifelong bullshit that you put up on the table was just a house of cards waiting for a box fan to blow it over. And a lot of times people get into relationships. They don't want to be into the relationship. They go through the motions and they wait for any little insignificant fallout to occur. And they will use that as the excuse to get out of it. But you never wanted to be in it in the first place. Because if you really wanted this, think about what just happened here. He grabbed a butt cheek and got in trouble for it. You're going to divorce him. The woman at the top of the show was being cussed out and talked down to by her man 4 days a week for the last year, and she ain't going nowhere. Do you understand the difference between her value in her relationship and your value in yours? That's the difference between for better or for worse. Now, while I don't condone being in abusive relationships, and I also don't condone physical contact without consent, I also believe that when people make the wrong choice, you're supposed to help them navigate out of that choice. Now, we don't always talk about religion on this channel, but I'm going to slide down that just a little bit real quick. Those people who are lost in the midst of sin can only be found if those who are able to maintain their righteousness can go into the den of sin and pull out the lost. Those who are not deliberately acting in sin can only be saved by those with the courage and the willpower to go into the den of sin and get those who do not know or do not realize what they're doing are incorrect, which means that if, even if you consider yourself a better person than him, which he shall not judge, if you are in a situation where your partner is making incorrect decisions, your responsibility as a partner is to coach them out of that. So yeah, he's going to have to go to community service. He's going to have to be on probation, get drug tested, probably get on the registry list, go see counseling, probably take some medication, you know. But you're supposed to be there the whole way. The same way, if you were addicted to drugs, he's not supposed to turn his back on you. Even if you're selling yourself for drugs so that you can keep your high going, he's not supposed to abandon you. The same way he makes a bad choice, you're not supposed to abandon him. If he accidentally flips a car and takes 5 lives, and now he's looking at 5 counts of vehicular homicide because he didn't hit the brakes when he should have hit the brakes, you're supposed to stand by your man the same way he was supposed to stand by you if you were in that situation. Now, while very few times will a woman grope a guy and the guy actually call the police about it, fact is If you as a woman behave inappropriately, wearing overly revealing clothes, dancing on other men in the club or in the street, that inappropriate behavior doesn't quantify for divorce. It qualifies for coaching from your partner that you shouldn't behave that way, and we're not going to allow this to happen again. And you should be able to show more loyalty, respect, and dedication towards me and this relationship, this marriage, this family, because your actions and decisions represents all of us. Now, if we were still that type of society where our actions and behavior had to be at its best because we represent our family, our entire family, our siblings, our parents, our grandparents, our children, our grandchildren, and we will not sully their name by making bad decisions. The way the elites behave, they don't associate with what they call black sheep in the family, the ones that commit crimes, the ones that are always in trouble with the law, the ones that are always on TMZ. But also note politicians, judges step down out of their political career because a family member close to them has performed an action or behavior that completely compromises the platform of the person that is in a political position. So, chief of police, their married partner embezzling money, chief of police retires from their position. Governor, family members of prostitute, governor retires. President, have an affair, resign. When you behave socially unacceptable, it affects the whole family. If we hold ourselves with a higher level of self respect and self dignity and stop going off of this First Amendment right of self expression bullshit where we're allowing ourselves to devalue and degrade ourselves because it is our constitutional right to make ourselves look bad. If we stop doing that and focus more on holding ourselves to a higher level of self respect, a higher level of integrity, a higher level of dignity, and then hold ourselves to a higher level of mutual respect for our partners and our children and our ancestors, so that the people around us that affiliate with us are proud to say that they know us and that they will stand next to us. Where your career of choice might actually play a factor in that. So, OnlyFans girls probably should stop being OnlyFans girls if their network is ashamed of saying that you're an OnlyFans girl. Socially unacceptable employment, like escorts and adult freelance workers, strippers, all this stuff. Yeah, that's easy money. Lonely men will pay time for a woman to come and make them not feel lonely anymore. But you could find you a different occupation. You just choose not to. And then instead of being honest and saying, yeah, I take my clothes off for money, instead you say, I'm a dancer or I'm an entertainer. No, you're sugarcoating the shit. You're a fucking stripper. And it is not a prestigious job. But you'll call it an entertainer because when people think entertainer, they think Cedric the Entertainer, they think Steve Harvey, they think the Queens of Comedy. When they think entertainers, they think comedians like Seinfeld and shit. They don't think when they think entertainment, they don't think strippers, escorts, dancers. But when you say dancer, they immediately think happy endings in the VIP room. So you change the title of it because you're not proud of what you do, but you're not willing to put more manual labor into something that's going to pay you less money than what you get from taking your clothes off and using your body to get money. If we carry ourselves to a higher level of self respect, self dignity, and hold ourselves to a level of mutual respect where our actions and behavior does impact our family and friends and the people that matter to us most, we would make different decisions in life. And if that man was thinking about how his actions might affect his family, he probably would have reconsidered that impulse. And I can only assume that he was following this woman. He was looking at an oversized behind and wasn't believing that that was real, went up and grabbed it to see if it was real and come to find out that it was. And she hit him with his purse and fell over, and he apologized and tried to get her some help. And by the time they came to help her, he got arrested because he was still there when they came to help her. And now he's in trouble. Because if he would have groped and ran, she might have not have seen his face. And while she would have felt accosted in the middle of her neighborhood, they're less likely to call because they don't know who did it. They couldn't identify him, and she was almost home anyway. Now she might put mace in her purse going forward. She might even put a Glock 22 Australian in her purse going forward. So if that happens again at 80 years old, she might have been able to take 3 shots into your gut for that. But the fact is that your conscience got in the way, and that's the reason why you got your conscience got in the way and you turned yourself in. So note to self, for anybody else who's watching the show, you must accept the consequences of your actions before you perform the action. Always do what you know is right. Stand up for what you believe in by any means necessary. And if you are doing what you know is right, whatever you believe in should be a righteous cause. It should be backed by law. And whatever decision that you decide to make, recognizing whatever the consequences are for that decision, that you know what you're getting yourself into before you do it. So if it leads to your arrest, if it leads to a divorce, if it leads to your children hating you for the rest of your life, you knew what you were doing before you got started doing it. There is no such thing as accidental behavior. It might have been impulsive, but you decided in that moment to do it without considering the consequences. But there is no accidental behavior. There is unexpected results, but there is not accidental behavior. You don't accidentally have a 45-minute affair 3 times a week for 6 years. You might have allowed somebody to get too close to you and they ended up kissing you, but you allowed them to do that. You can't say, oh, well, I didn't know what was happening. Yes, you did. When you and them were sharing the same breath and y'all are this close away from one another, you knew that person was close enough to kiss you. When they started doing this, you should have put your hand in their face and did that, but you didn't because you subconsciously wanted to kiss them too. But when your man was trying to come and kiss you and he come in and you do one of these numbers, at the end of the day, if a stranger can kiss you but your husband can't, it is not accidental. It was impulsive. You're going to call it an accident because you're not willing to take responsibility and accountability for your efforts. So the one thing that I do commend this guy, while I don't agree with his decisions, I do take accountability and commend him for taking responsibility for the mistake that he made. And while the justice system is not going to be nice to him, at least he took responsibility for his actions and his decisions. Now that's more than what I could say for his wife, but you got to know who you're getting involved with before you get started. Now I think we got one or two more. Let's go ahead and touch base on these.
I'm being accused of cheating on my husband at my workplace. So I work for a retail chain, and I work at multiple stores within the chain, and I have been doing so for about 2 years. I overheard my boss talking with one of my coworkers about one of the managers at one of the other stores I work at being my boyfriend. I feel really sick to my stomach that my own boss, who I thought I could trust, would say something like that to cause drama. I've been married to my husband for about 4 years, and I would never do that to him. And now, I really don't feel comfortable going back to this other store now that I've overheard this. I'm planning on going back to school to be a paralegal, but I also really need the extra money that I get from helping out at other stores. How do I handle this?
Um, so the problem that I have here is, how does your husband believe that you cheating on him at work if this is a rumor at your job? It sounds to me like you're being too friendly with one of your colleagues, and that is giving people the perception that you are in a relationship on the job with this person. They call them work husbands and work boyfriends, where you just too friendly with that person. Now, if your husband have come to your job and has seen this type of behavior, or you have come home and spent too much time talking about this man to your husband. He believes that you are not behaving appropriately and you have too much invested in the other man. You can claim that you're sick to your stomach about it because everybody else knows about it. But your behavior reflects the fact that there's something going on between one of your colleagues and you, and it is not supposed to be that serious, but it is. Now, you can either cut that bullshit out and continue working on the job, or you can quit the job. None of that got nothing to do. You going to law school and being a paralegal got shit to do with your husband wanting to leave you because he thinks that you're involved with one of your coworkers, and your job in and of itself between multiple locations believes that out of however many locations you work in, one specific location, you show too much attention to one of the employees. That says a lot, because if you're working in two, three, five stores and only one store, there's one guy in that store that gets more attention from you, or more favor from you, or more effort from you than every other store that you work in. Your husband see it, all of your coworkers see it, whether you admit it or not. You are expressing subconscious feelings for this guy, and you need to cut that bullshit out, because quitting this job and going to law school is not going to save your marriage. Quitting the job might remove the insecurity that your husband is feeling about the fact that you have established an emotional bond on the job with one of your colleagues. However, in your defense, people who spend more time at work than what they spend with their families find themselves generating emotional bonds, platonic at first, with the colleagues that they spend the most time with. Male, female cops partner up, years on the job. They're riding around in the same car. They're saving each other's lives. Emotional bond. They confide in one another because they're bored, and emotional bonds established. That is the best way to develop loyalty. That is the best way to develop the fight or flight response, to put your life on the line for the sake of your partner, to go down with your partner instead of sacrificing your partner to save yourself. But that does lead to affairs when people are long hour kind of jobs, like lawyers that are on the job for 12 hours a day, doctors that are on the job for 18-hour shifts, 72-hour rotating shifts, where they take breaks and sleep in the break room, where there's like 20 beds in this room because most of the employees sleep on the job because they can't go home when they're on call, doctors and surgeons and stuff. They will have more opportunity to have an affair in the break room because they're establishing emotional bonds with the people that they spend the most time with. Night shift workers on manual labor jobs, where you're 10 hours a night, 5 or 6 nights a week with the same people, are able to establish more emotional bonds with these people. Where you're at the job for 10 hours a night, 1 to 2 hours of commuting, which is 12 hours away from the house, 4 to 6 hours of sleep at the house, leaving you with 4 to 6 hours to take care of business and spend probably 20 to 30 minutes with your partner. You find that there's a lot of opportunities for you to establish an emotional bond on the job. Now, how do you handle this? While you can establish bonds with your colleagues, that is not forbidden. You cannot act on any impulses that are derived from those bonds. That's the no no. So, you got a strong relationship with one of your male colleagues. You got your partner's back. That's fine. Keep it platonic. And do not put that person over your marriage. You should not have more value in anyone else that is not in your marriage. Just your husband, your kids, your wife, your kids. Everyone else comes second to that. So if you find yourself getting along better with someone outside of your relationship, My advice to you, fix your fucking relationship, because that means that your relationship is missing something. Because in order for you, you can only be in love with one person at a time. You can have love for multiple people. I can love all 300 family members, but I'm only going to be in love with my one wife. So in order for you to fall in love with another person, you have to fall out of love with the person you're married with. So if you find yourself growing a stronger attachment to somebody that is not in your marriage, that's because you are losing the attachment with the person you're in the marriage with. And that is the first sign of self-recognition, self-accountability, that you need to spend more time at your house working on your marriage. So that whatever fulfillment you're getting outside of your marriage can start coming from your marriage. And you might have to be clear with your partner that the reason why you recognize that there's something missing in a marriage is because you're starting to find it outside of your marriage. And before you allow yourself to get involved with someone outside of your marriage, you want to put that in your marriage, which gives your partner the heads up that you guys are slipping into a contentment style relationship where the emotional needs are not being met. And ironically, just like the first kid in the class to raise their hand and ask a question, you might not be the only person with that problem. You're just the first person to say something about it. So, I think that's all of them for the day. We're going to start with saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, 65% male driven podcast from the male's perspective. I do this to give you guys higher value information and help you guys become higher value men. However, ladies, the information that I give is not exclusive to the men. Ladies, y'all can take this information and utilize it to make yourselves higher value women. When you guys put the time into changing the things in your life that are within your control, you have more ability to navigate around the things that are outside of your control. You have to recognize where there are problems and then recognize how to resolve those problems before you can proactively put forth the effort to change the things that you are not satisfied with. Once you start changing the things in your life that you are not satisfied with, you will have a more satisfactory life. Fix the things that are working in your financial life so that you have more finances. Fix the things that are working in your personal life so that you have more peace in your personal life. If you stop making bad financial decisions in your personal life, you stop having an extra desire to get more finances in your business life. The less stress that you need for finances, the less pressure you have to try to make money, and the less impulsive financial decisions you make that allows you to take lower value jobs just to get a little bit of money when you could have held out for a larger quantity of money. Less more often is only effective when you're more often making money. But less more often is not effective when you're getting less money and putting more work in more often. Rethink your position. Start finding new ways to balance your work-life situation. Start taking different times out of your day to proactively prioritize spending more time with your family. If you're only able to give them 30 minutes a day, find a way to turn that into an hour and a half. Even if it's 30 minutes 3 times a day, find a way to turn that 30 minutes a day into an hour and a half. Find a way to if you're giving them 1 day out of the week, find a way to give them 2. Find a way to give them a weekend. Find a way to rekindle. But don't allow a good thing to spoil because you left it out and unattended. Your relationship can either age like fine wine or spoil like milk. It depends on how you proactively support it. And it takes both of you to do it, not just one. So I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
company-wide. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.